Hello, Richard Knudsen here. Recently, I conducted a survey. I cleverly called it the CRM Add-Ons survey because what I was surveying for was to get a feel for people's favorite add-on products for Dynamics CRM in 4 categories, previewing the survey results here: data migration, mobile CRM, preferred email marketing, and social CRM. And for me, as with most of the topics I write and talk about, this was very much an exercise in eating my own dog food, in the sense that I did everything within CRM. In particular, I used one of my personal favorite add-ons for CRM, ClickDimensions, to create and deploy the survey and to analyze the survey results. I mentioned we're getting a preview of the results here, but let's drill down a little bit into the sort of behind the scenes, how you create and deploy these surveys. And one of the reasons that I wanted to do this was I've written a number of articles on my blog, the Dynamics CRM Trick Bag, about ClickDimensions email marketing and analytics features. But it occurred to me that I'd never written about surveying, so that's what we'll do here. Now, to create a survey, a little bit of background information for you. If I click on Settings, scroll down here, ClickDimensions in its managed solution, which is an add-on, as I mentioned, to CRM, creates a number of custom entities, and the most important ones in this context are the web content record type and the survey questions record type. Let's start with the survey questions. Survey questions are effectively reusable components that can be used across several different surveys. So for example, I see here I have questions for, here's my add-ons question for email marketing. And I've got an add-on for data migration. Here's my add-on email marketing, add-ons for mobile CRM, and the way these questions look, I'll open one up. You can tell from the list there are several different question types. As a matter of fact, there are 6 different question types, and most of the question types that I used on the add-ons survey were this checkbox variety. I list out the options here, and at runtime, the survey deployment engine renders these as checkboxes, and with a checkbox, you're allowed to select multiple answers there. If this were a list, I could change it if I wanted to. If I deployed this as a list type of a question, then only one of these would be selectable. But I use the checkbox option. The other options: rating, allow users, survey respondents to rate items on a scale of 1 to 10. Radio, that is 2 options. Text area is a scrollable text region. The text box is a single line of text, and the list I mentioned. So those are the different question types. So after you create questions, you then create a survey, and a survey is a special type of web content. So ClickDimensions has this web content record type. And if I scroll down to my, let's sort this by type, and I look at the Dynamics CRM Add-Ons survey, this is the web content form. I've specified that this is a piece of web content, type of survey. And once I specify the type, if I open the designer, I'm going to get a designer that's appropriate for this type of content. So this, what we're looking at here when this comes up, will be the ClickDimensions survey design tool. It's a drag and drop experience. It's a very solid, easy design experience. And what you do is you select from 2 different, use this filter control. There's 2 different kinds of content over here. I've got the questions. These are the questions, the survey questions that we just looked at. So again, these are reusable across any survey you want. And I simply will drag and drop questions from this list out onto the design surface here. I can also drag and drop components. So there are 5 types of survey components: section titles, lines, page breaks, HTML, and email. Now, how do these things work? A good way to see this, get a feel for it, is by, let's take a look at what this survey looks like. At any time as I'm designing, I could preview, or to get a little bit more insight into it, I'll click this embed link here, and you'll see what this does. When I'm ready to deploy a survey, when I've got it all designed and ready to go, I've got 3 options for embedding this. I can embed it as a link, an iframe, or as a widget if I want to drag and sort of copy and paste HTML code onto a web page. I deployed this one as a link, and that's convenient for what I want to show now, because here's what the survey looks like. So once I design it, here's the survey as the user sees it when it's rendered through the survey rendering engine. So up here, I've just got a graphic image and some HTML. I'll show you what that looks like in a second. And then here are the different sections. One section for email marketing. Here's my checkbox question. Here's a text area question. Then I go to the mobile CRM section. Checkbox question, text box, social CRM, so on and so forth. So that's what the survey looks like. Here's a little bit of CAPTCHA at the end to make sure that it's a person filling it out. That's what the survey looks like. So how do we design something like this? Let me go to a empty survey, or a rather empty one, this foo. It's kind of a throwaway survey that I can just use for showing you how this works. So I open this survey, go to design, and if all I wanted to do was just pop a bunch of questions on a survey, I could certainly just drag and drop using the question filter like we saw before. So for example, let's do email marketing, drag that out there. Mobile CRM, data migration, and social CRM. And the icons here on these questions indicate the question type. So you can see these are the checkbox questions I've got. If I want to see just at this point what I have, I can simply do a preview. And this would be about as plain vanilla a survey as you would ever want to see. So what does this tell us? Well, it tells us there's a few things we want to do to really get this right. For one thing, let's change the properties of these so that the question property, so I select the question, click question properties. Let's go to formatting and make this a little bit wider. Let's go to 3 columns. Now if I preview, you can see at least one of these questions will be formatted nicely. Notice that. So now I've got the formatting nice. And what I'll do is I'll pause the recording for a minute so you don't have to watch me do a lot of that stuff. Okay, so I've widened those out a little bit. Now I've got a slightly better looking survey here. Still needs a little bit of work though, so I'm going to put some other components down there to take you through the process of how you might finalize these things. So there's my checkbox questions. Remember I had the text area questions, so I'll add those in the appropriate spot. So I'm going to add on the other email right there. And I will add on the other mobile right underneath the mobile question. I believe I got that right. Yep. Then I'll add the other data migration question there and the other social in its appropriate spot. Then I might make those a little bit wider. Let's just make that one 2 columns so you can kind of see how that's going to play out. Then I might do things like add a component. So let's switch to survey components and let's add section titles. So I'm going to drag this out and put that in front of, above the email marketing questions. So then we'll go and open this up, and let's call this email marketing. And then do the same thing, for example, for mobile. So on and so forth. Let's see, and I won't do much else with that because I'm not going to take you through this whole thing. We'll jump back to the completed survey in a second. What about this HTML component? What's that for? Well, if I drop that, let's put it right up at the top. Let's open that up. See what we get here. I get the nice ClickDimensions HTML editor. And if you use ClickDimensions, you may recognize this, since it's essentially the same HTML editor you use when you're editing email templates with ClickDimensions. So you get good reuse of these components across different functional areas within ClickDimensions, which is nice. So this is what I use to do the graphic image and the instructional text at the top of the survey as I deployed it. So I'm going to close out of here. I won't even save these changes because what I want to do is go look at the actual Dynamics CRM Add-On survey. Let's take one more look at this. So you can see how these things come together now. So here's the survey designer. So now you can see, if I preview this finished survey, how all these different components work to kind of fine-tune a survey that you're deploying. So this is the HTML component. There's a line, just a pure graphical separator, section header. I've got an empty HTML component that inserts spaces in there. So we do all that. So that's what these HTML components do. You just put an empty HTML, just drag and drop an HTML component. It just puts basically a line break in there. There's the line component. There's that HTML component. And here's the HTML, visual HTML editor that ClickDimensions has that I mentioned. So I put the trick bag logo in there and the instructional text, and we're off and running. How about this? This confirmation text. This is optional, but it's not a bad idea to have this. This is what a user sees after they click submit on the survey form. So this is the confirmation text. Now, when I'm ready to deploy the survey, I already showed you that embed. Like, all I have to do, this is live and ready to go, so that link is live. I deployed this survey in a couple ways. I included that link in an email, my monthly email newsletter that I send out. I also tweeted it, and then start getting results. What are the results? Well, if I go back to marketing, these are the survey answers. So each survey that I post, each posted survey, has several survey answers. And that's what this here is. So if I do, for example, look at active survey answers, all my survey answers, this is all survey answers to every survey that I've ever deployed. So this is not a very actionable view. We've got 712 survey answers in here. What you generally need to do here as answers come in is to create views that make sense, that support the analysis that you want to do. So in this one, for example, in the webinar topics survey answers, this is a previous survey that I did to survey users about what content they wanted more presentations on, or more webinar presentations or articles on my blog. So there's a filtered view that only shows responses to that survey, and for this, I probably want the content survey results. Let's see if that's the view I want, or if here. It's the trick bag content survey answers. This view supports this chart. So this was an easy way for me to tell of the different things that I surveyed for suggestions for content, what were the most popular. This is all in that 1 to 10 rating scale. So that was a previous survey. And let's take a look at the add-on survey. So what I did was I created a special chart, and I called it the add-on survey responses chart. And what this does is it filters, so these filters here, these filter views that I created, basically filter it down to each question, so that for each of these questions, I can create a pie chart that distributes out the responses across the different filters out for each, basically each area. So data migration, I've got a pie chart that shows a little pie piece for each response. So this is kind of a segue into the actual survey responses here. So here's what we got. It didn't surprise me that Scribe in the data migration category was far and away the most popular response. Just if you remember the things I surveyed for, you could probably tell that I was working pretty hard to come up with things other than Scribe. It's the 800-pound gorilla in the space. And it also didn't surprise me, so that 17 out of 43 responses, 17, anyway, 17, about half of the responses were Scribe. And the next most popular category was blank, which doesn't surprise me too much because plenty of people, users might not even know what data migration tool that administrators were using anyway. Might have a hard time coming up with something else. So that was the data migration answer. Let's look at mobile CRM. Mobile was interesting. So the leading category in mobile was CWR mobility, 13 responses. 8 responses for Resco, which is one of my new favorite mobile CRM applications. 12 blank, 3 the free Microsoft Mobile Express one. Now, at first, it might seem odd that this category was so high, the blank category. You'd think that that might indicate kind of a lack of interest in mobile. And if you compare that to social, what you notice about social is that the blank response, sort of the non-responses for the social category, were a lot rarer than the non-responses for mobile. And you'd kind of think that these two things would go along together. Now, I think what's actually happening here is that there's a relatively high degree of interest in both, but why we get so many more responses for social than mobile, my guess is that in the mobile space, it's just harder to deploy a mobile solution. With social, most of these tools here, activity feeds, broad look, inside view, those are the popular responses here. You could deploy one of these things relatively straightforwardly, just on the server. You don't have to deploy out to devices. So the deployment cycle and required effort for this category is much less, I think, than for mobile. So my guess is that in the mobile space, the large number of non-responses here, it really indicates that it's actually just more difficult to deploy a mobile solution. There have been other limiting factors in mobile too, bandwidth, application quality, but based on what I've seen recently from Resco, I think the application quality is going to largely get solved over the next year or so, and especially with Microsoft coming out with its own mobile option based on the CWR technology in the CRM Anywhere release. That should go a long way to solving the application quality issue. So that's the mobile. And email marketing, this to me was the least surprising. ClickDimensions was the overwhelming. And this is by far and away the most lopsided of any of the categories that I surveyed for. So 24 respondents indicated ClickDimensions was their favorite. 4 for core motives, 2 for CRM innovation. Only a couple blank here, so this is a pretty popular category. And the email marketing tool with my favorite name of the lot, Power MailChimp from Power Objects. And then somebody selected other. So that, my friends, is a quick summary of how you do surveys and do something with the results using the ClickDimensions add-on tool. And those are the results of the first annual Dynamics CRM Trick Bag Add-Ons survey. So let me know if I missed your favorite add-ons, and I hope you found this helpful.